So we have done this event for over 10 years, multiple times a year, and we've worked with a lot of directors, and they're all amazing. But I have to tell you that you have elevated this event to a whole new level. Not only the time that you took with Susan, going through the script and working on the characters and letting her into the casting of it all, which was an amazing experience. Also assembling this top-notch cast. Thank you so much for all the work that you put into this. You are amazing. Thank you. Cast. I mean, what can I say? You're all just fantastic. You are all perfectly cast in these roles. You're brilliant. It was so much fun working with you, and I can't wait to work with you all again. Thank you so much. While I'm doing thank yous, I'm going to thank you, the ISA team. Every single person on the team touched this event tonight in one way or another. It didn't just start a few weeks ago with casting or with rehearsing. It started 10 months ago with launching the screenplay competition. So from marketing it to running the competition and reading the scripts and judging and scoring, and then finding this brilliant script to showcase. Thank you, Felicity and Jaren, who helped with that. To then finding Mary Lou as our director. Thank you, Shayna. And then prepping for this event, and then pulling a couple of all-nighters, editing it. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, team. You're all amazing. I love working with you. And thank you to our sponsors for the competition, who are the Wrap, Script Studio, Creators Vault, and Screen Right Now. Thank you. We are going to do a Q&A with Susan and Mary Lou and Felicity, Wren, our VP of Development. I think that's all I'm going to say right now. Let's get on to the lady of the hour. Susan, would you like to say a few words?
I also have to thank the ISA. I'm Susan Brunig. I am the writer of The Surveillance of Ordinary Things. This script began with my general obsession with surveillance and how pervasive it is in our society and in our modern lives. And then it sort of morphed into an idea that was combined with the idea that older women tend to feel invisible in society. And then that sort of begged the question, can you disappear if you already feel invisible in the world? And can you find your way back to yourself? And so that's kind of the theme of the screenplay. It has been on quite a journey for the last year and a half and I realized last night that each of the stops on this journey have brought me into these little writing communities, which is good because a lot of writers are introverted and we don't seek out communities as much as we should. So I am absolutely thrilled to be a part of the ISA community now as well. And of course, I have to thank everyone at the ISA for working tirelessly to put this program together. And I have to thank Mary Lou and this wildly talented cast. They just blew me away with how hard they worked to bring these scenes to life, and how each of them uniquely inhabited their characters. So I honestly cannot thank you all enough. It was amazing. Also, there is a ton of swearing, so send the children out of the room. And that's it.
Oh, thank you so much, Susan. Mary Lou, would you like to say a few words before we watch?
I think the actors' work speak for themselves, but the actors' work is always inspired by great writing. And Susan, congratulations, and on a brilliant screenplay, and ISA for recognizing it. Let's get on to the work.
First off, Susan, I wanted to read to you. So Carolina Grappa, who is a producer, was going to come on tonight, but our time kind of changes. She was unavailable to come up, but she wrote you a lovely note. So I wanted to read that to you first before I dive into the questions. So this is from Carolina and her assistant, Rebecca. She said, The Surveillance of Ordinary Things was an extraordinary read. There are very few scripts out there that grip you from page 1 and maintain their hold until the end. This script accomplished that in spades. We had the opportunity to read the script and talk with Susan about our thoughts and ideas to push the script even further. Our conversations solidified that a script can only be as good as its writer's openness and zealousness for life and collaboration. Susan was not precious nor defensive, but keen to crack this world open and fulfill its potential. Susan's writing speaks enough to her talent, but who she is as a person elevates it completely. The script itself made us so excited, an excitement that doesn't come around often. The depth of the world transfixed us, and the characters were so multidimensional and beautifully human. The writing, pithy and adept throughout, the tone and speed picture perfect. We loved the themes of fulfilling one's potential and unlearning the act of abandoning yourself. It made us examine the idea of passion and how you are what sets your soul on fire. Trying to shed that layer of humanity in the effort to conform is a slow death. It's a cautionary tale, if anything. One of the many exciting aspects of the script is that it had the alchemy of a sports movie, but directed towards the power of art. Art is imbued with community and self-expression, which are essential virtues, and this film played on those virtues wonderfully. So I wanted to share that with you.
Oh,
and
lovely.
And then the first question I'm going to throw to you, Susan. How was it hearing your words from the page brought to life, you know, with professional actors, directed by a pro director? How was this for you?
So I also want to call out Scott Marcus's edit, because I had seen the read, but wow, I had not seen that cut, and I hadn't seen those perfect background images. So the experience of watching it now was even more amazing than watching it while it was happening and while it was being recorded. It is always just so fulfilling to see characters that you have spent like years with. Like I've started this a few years ago, and it's been through a lot of iterations, and I've spent time with these characters on the page, and then to see them turn into people, like actual breathing humans, is an incredible experience. It's a little terrifying because you also start to see all the flaws in the writing. And so, unfortunately, so it's kind of like an education on every page, like, makes you really aware of the arcs and the pacing, especially,
Right. What other things did you learn from hearing it out loud, and did you learn any tips or tricks or anything that you're like, oh man, that's something that I can work on in the future?
Oh,
Oodles.
I consider myself a very lean writer, and yet hearing everything read out loud while we were doing it, I was just like, oh yeah, cut that. Oh yeah, that could go. Oh, cut that. Oh, that's unnecessary. So it's, brought me back to, creating more white space on the page. It's the same thing with like double beats, like it's repetition and seeing the same thing happen over and over. I like to think I'm aware of that when I'm writing, and then you hear a chunk of your work read aloud, and you're like, oh, I see that I have repeated myself several times. So yeah, I have lots to dig into for the next rewrite.
Well, your self-awareness is probably much higher than anyone else's awareness, but I totally understand where you're coming from. So I'm going to jump to, first of all, let's give a round of applause in our little group to Mary Lou Belli, who jumped on board and really just went above and beyond in directing this table read. And so I found you. I didn't find you. I was obviously researching somebody to be the director of this. And this is it's such synchronicity, I have to tell you. I was looking up a bunch of people and I saw your name because my friend Lamont is a writer for Black Lightning. And so your name popped up and I was like, that name is very familiar to me for some reason. And I was, keep looking through and found out that you've worked with Elaine Lowe, who is a Table Read My Screenplay winner. You are also with the agency that we work with, Creative Culture. And then also I was looking through books, things I have, and I found this book. There's your name. And I was like, oh, and then you agreed, and I just felt like it was such synchronicity. So Mary Lou, for you, why did you agree to sign on to direct this table read? And then can you just talk a little bit about your process working with Susan?
Yeah. So the first thing is, I'm all about advocacy, and I really love getting voices out there, especially ones who are telling stories we haven't seen before. And Susan's, particularly when I read the screenplay, it just spoke to me. I just thought it was so rich, and you guys haven't even seen the ending of this. You think there's surprises at the beginning of this. Wait till you see what happens in terms of Barbara's journey. So I knew, and there were certain characters who immediately I thought, oh my God, I know the people to cast in this too. I immediately thought of Sue Ann, who I worked with. I knew Mecca's work, and and countless other people in it. But I just kept thinking they were jumping off at the page for me, and I was seeing the characters and the actors who I thought would really just bring it to life. So when I knew that that's what I could bring, and I love the whole idea of giving a table read, because Susan has already said this, and our process in terms of casting this and exploring the casting of this, there's lots of steps that a writer doesn't get a chance to do. They sit in this solitary room and they write and they write and write and rewrite and get notes, but when you hear it, and Susan has already benefited from this, when they see those moments pop and they go, oh, I don't have to say it because the audience, she's realized it's in the subtext she wrote. So I jumped on because I loved the script, and then meeting Susan and seeing how wonderfully collaborative she was, and how much she was open to everything about growing this screenplay was already great on the page, and I think will only grow in its greatness. And I want to see it. I want to see it on the big screen.
And Susan, how was it for you working with Mary Lou and just diving in with her? What was that like for you as a writer?
I knew that you guys were going to find a director. I did not know you were going to find an Emmy award-winning, seasoned director who was just it was such a learning experience for me to watch her work, and to watch her work in such a professional manner. Not one nanosecond of rehearsals are wasted with Mary Lou. she works very quickly and is just incredibly experienced and talented. I did not know that she would also be so generous with her time with me. So thank you for that. And that she would collaborate with me and bring me into the whole creative process of casting. And, even while we were reading through it, she would kind of stop sometimes and ask, if that was where I had intended the scene to go. So it was just an incredible experience.
Awesome. So Felicity, I'm going to jump to you. You are obviously behind the scenes of selecting the winning script for Table Read My Screenplay. What was it about The Surveillance of Ordinary Things that really stood out to you and was a winning script?
Would you indulge me? I would really like to read a tiny bit of something that Barbara says that we don't get to, but I would like everyone, and this is one of the reasons. And she says, "Here is the problem with your thinking. No one is an adult, Johnny. No one. And when you finally do, at long last, get treated like an adult, you will be old, and you will pine for these days like a lost light, every moment wasted, because now days pass like seconds and decades disappear. So beautiful. There is, I mean, your script is full of language like that to make us as humans understand the condition of being alive. And I read it again today, and I was crying at the end. I mean, it just is non-stop for me. I just absolutely love it. There's a few things. My gran was 86, and I said to her, how old do you feel on the inside? 18, she said. I personally have paused at 27. So, you know, I'm not going any further than that. That's it, 27. And I just think, you know, that understanding of us, that the outside gets old, but the inside remains, is such a universal truth. But we're so scared of getting old and the power that actually you have from experience. So I think the fact is that this script deals with all of that. I also love that there were two families. So you have your blood family that you are, you know, stuck with maybe, and then you have your chosen family. And who are you going to have in those two places in your life, and how are they going to treat you, and how do they make you feel? And if you had a choice, where would you stick with the blood? Would you go with the new one? I love the fact by the end, there's another big journey there too. And I'd say the last thing that would really, actually there's two more things. It was about independence and interdependence. So this thing about being independent, but that we really all need each other. And then the surveillance. I mean, it's in the title, but then it really struck to me because it's so intimate, and yet it gives an otherness to the script when we see this graininess, and from using it as a piece when the girl is lost, but then also using it throughout the script. So we kind of view people from above, almost like a god or like our consciousness, as we see people going about their business. I just think it has so many layers, and it just kind of blew me away.
Excellent. So what is next with your relationship between the ISA and Susan? What happens now?
Well, Susan's been invited onto the development slate, which is our top tier roster of 175 writers now, Susan. And we'll be excited, I think, to take her work out. I mean, it depends what Susan wants to do. I mean, if there's a producer out there that's thinking, I need this script for myself, then, you know, Godspeed, you know, that's exactly what we would like. Other than that, we would love to work with Susan. We have loads of contacts. We spent the last 18 months talking to studios and production companies, and everyone is looking for a unique perspective and an original voice. And I think this script has both of those. So it's just the beginning for Susan. She thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to enter this contest and I'll, you know, might get something out of it. Now she's going to be plagued by all of us. I feel like Mary's going to be calling her. I'm calling her. Shayna probably. We're all going to be, hey, Susan, look, I'm at work. Go away.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna get your number from Felicity later. I'll just be calling you. Like, how you doing? So Susan, what do you hope happens next? Like, what are you excited about? How do you think this is like a jumping off point for you, or like, I don't know if you need a jumping off point, or like a reinvigoration, or, you know, like just giving you confidence, or what has it done for you, and what do you hope happens in the future?
Well, I would love to see the movie made. And I feel like the next step for me is diving into these notes that I did meet with Carolina, and she and her assistant had not just notes, but really insightful, like an insightful understanding of what needed to be changed. And it was all like nothing out of left field, like everything really resonated with me as far as, you know, changes that as a writer, sometimes you think, well, maybe I can get away with that. Like, I know there's something wrong there, and maybe nobody's going to notice, and I can kind of sneak that one through. So I definitely want to attack the rewrite. And then this partnership with the ISA they already have just been so generous. Like you heard Felicity speaking so generously about my screenplay. So yeah, I'd love to see what happens on the development slate as well.
Great. And just a couple more questions. Mary Lou, for you, what would you like to say to Susan moving forward? Like, just words of encouragement, or any advice, any last minute advice, or advice to writers who are watching this?
I think always take advantage of what you get by hearing your words read aloud and by professional actors, because they will enlighten, as this stunning cast did, what works, what can be improved. But Susan, you have something, you write so well about so many different generations, and I think this speaks to so many. And I want young people to see this made as a movie. I want older people to see this as made as a movie. I want women to see this made as a movie, most especially because your voice is unique, and as already pointed out by Felicity, the way you write is poetry.
Thank you. Excellent. So Susan, last question is for you. What advice do you have for other writers who are considering, submitting to a Table Read My Screenplay or any other contest like this that gives you the opportunity to hear your words out loud?
Oh, hands down. Definitely do it. I submitted many different scripts over the last few years to lots of competitions, but to this one too. And I've always kind of had my eye on this one. Like, it's like, this, I think I made it into like the top 5 or 6 in the past. And it is invaluable to not just, it's invaluable to hear your words read out loud back to you, even if it's just people in a writer's group, but to hear trained actors just, sink their teeth into your characters it's so helpful for the screenplay's growth and for your growth as a writer. And, it's just a lovely experience because, it's like Hollywood is it gets so bogged down in development and production, and it may never become a movie, but this is almost like the next best thing to seeing it become an actual movie.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I just want to give a last shout out to the designer of your poster, Liz Sweeney, who is absolutely amazing. And we went through so many different versions of this to come up with this poster, and I love it. So thank you.